I'm a mom of a 2.5-year-old kid. We started ABA when he was 24 months old. He's making a lot of progress in the cognitive area, memory games, turn taking games, but the areas he's not improving in are language and requesting things. We make him imitate us, but it's hit and miss. It's not consistent. What should we do, please? With his ABA therapy, I also work with him. He doesn't have any behaviors or repetitive behaviors anymore. He can identify all the categories, colors, shapes, body parts, nonverbal imitations. So please help me to know how I can make my son talk and repeat words on request. And she said again, please help me. What do you say?
This was a great one. I just want to applaud the parents for starting so early, being that this kiddo is only 2.5 years and he already has a lot of great skills. What really stood out to me is that the nonverbal imitation piece, that was a strength for him. So what that is when someone does something like do this and you clap your hands, then the child imitates that. So the imitation is such an important skill. So what I would suggest they work with their team on really focusing on the imitation skills to get the child to start requesting. So specifically, I would work on some oral imitation movements. So when the parent moves their mouth, then the child will imitate that movement, and then also go into sounds and words. The biggest thing is going to be trying to find the best approximations that the child can give. So, for example, if the child is asking for the cookie, then we want to find out what is the best response that they can give. So, right now, if they're able to say "ka" for cookie, then that will be what the correct response will be for cookie. So, what they'll start to do is come up with a list of all of the best approximations that the child is giving. And then when they say that word or that sound, then they'll be able to get the desired item for the request. So that's called shaping. So I would do that throughout with all of the imitations for the motor movements of the mouth and then also for sounds and words. The other big thing that stood out to me with this one is just that they had a lot of the prerequisite skills with knowing categories and colors and shapes and body parts. So what I would start to do is start being very consistent with what you're having for the response. So if it's going to be a point or the vocalization, just make sure that everybody's consistent with that. And then also start to add in some visuals for requesting. So this is usually known as the picture exchange communication system, but it doesn't have to be the formal text system. It could be any sort of picture or icon that they're exchanging to get what they want. My big thing would be just focusing so that the child really is able to get their requests met. So if they say they want a cookie and they exchange the picture of the cookie, then accept that as the child's words for now for the request, but then pair it with that language or the attempt of language. If we're all consistent and you have everyone consistent on your team, then the child's going to still be able to get their needs met and not be frustrated.
And just for parents who worry, because I've seen this with so many parents, and I was one of them. When we start to do something that is nonverbal to request something, a lot of times parents panic and think, oh no, we're giving up on that speech for requesting. But the studies don't bear that out, correct, Deidre?
Correct. Correct. And what I think the important part is that since they said they've already decreased a lot of the behaviors that might have once been a concern, you want to make sure that the child is able to communicate. So the research will show if it's easier for the child to request with the picture, they might use the picture, but then once they're able to use the vocalizations and that's easier for them, then they're going to start to vocalize.
Fabulous.
So once everybody's consistent, even if it's not the full phrase of I want to go outside and they just say out, then right now accept that as I want to go outside, and then
Wonderful.
you start to shape it up so it's a longer utterance.
Fabulous. I love there is a TED talk that shows a typical child they kept cameras in a house and showed a typical child how the word water shaped up over a year and a half for a typical child. It's fascinating, and they have it cut to, I think it's like 22 seconds, and you can listen to all of the approximations that that child had to go through to say water. It really is eye-opening for an autism parent to go, oh, it's so okay to reward the approximation. We'll get there eventually. Love,
Yeah,
love.
I would use a lot of visuals in the house and make sure that they have that written down. So if it's wa for water, everybody knows that that means water for now. And then that way the child can be successful. And then even the parent's going to feel good because they're going to see how it's moving on to say wa, then water.